Good evening. Welcome to high school football here on the Toledo Sports Network at CW13. I'm Norm Weimer along with Mike Bauman tonight. We're in the Three Rivers Athletic Conference, and we're at Donnell Stadium in Findlay as the Findlay Trojans undefeated on the season 4-0 to take on the St. John's Jesuit Titans. They're at 1-3, but both teams 1-0 in the league. And when you talk about St. John's, you got to start with their dynamic quarterback, Matt Winsler.
That's right, Norm. I mean, last week he really pretty much put the whole conference on notice. Over 400 yards of total offense and a huge win against St. Francis. You know, St. John's plays tough non-conference competition as always. Had Brother Rice again this year on the schedule. They very easily could have been 3-1. They've made some mistakes, but Matt Winsler's a dynamic quarterback, and so is Brandon Mule on the other side for Findlay.
Yeah, Winsler had more than 200 yards on the ground and in the air and accounted for 5 touchdowns. But for Findlay, this is a team that was picked 7th by the coaches in the track who obviously got this thing wrong, and they really like what they're doing.
Absolutely. You know, getting a chance to talk to Coach Mark, they are 10+ in the turnover margin, plus 10 in the turnover margin this year. 8 different guys, Norm, with an interception. So this is a balanced team. They fly to the football. Offensively, you've got Mule, you've got the running back, Mogaloo. You really have to be on your keys on defense, and St. John's is going to have to watch where that football is tonight because these guys go no huddle and they go quick.
And Findlay's got a bunch of 6'2", 6'3", fast receivers to throw to. Both teams like to run no huddle, too, so we might see a lot of action, a lot of plays, and a lot of offense tonight. It's Findlay hosting St. John's. We're at Donnell Stadium in Findlay. We'll be back with the kickoff. You're watching the Toledo Sports Network at CW13. Welcome to Toledo Sports Network, CW13. We're in the Three Rivers Athletic Conference tonight. Norm Weimer, Mike Bauman. The Findlay Trojans, undefeated 4-0 in the season, will receive the kickoff from St. John's, who comes in at 1-3, but both teams are 1-0 in conference play. Findlay, with wins over Anthony Wayne, Grove City, beat Southview 45-14 and shut out Clay last week 48-0 for St. John's. Tough games to start the season against Piqua, Brother Rice out of Michigan, Kettering Fairmont, and then beat St. Francis in that rivalry game last week 38-31. St. John's to kick off, and we're underway. That's going to skip into the end zone for a touchback, and Findlay will set up 1st and 10.
Well, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this tonight. You know, both teams going to go up-tempo. St. John's in sort of a spear gun, which is a spread, a veer. You'll see some pistol, some motion. And on the other side for Findlay, really balanced team. We talked about Mogul in the open. We talked about Mule. Also keep an eye on Nice Wander. He's the guy they like to go to on the outside. But a lot of up-tempo, a lot of motion tonight.
Well, Mogul, the tailback, comes in with 8 touchdowns in 4 games, 542 yards, 8.3 yards a carry. And we'll get the pitch on 1st down. Look at the throw. Got tipped at the line of scrimmage and picked off. Intercepted. Number 44, Tyler Kratzman, a weak side linebacker with the pick.
You know what? You couldn't ask for a better start if you're a Titans fan. One of the things they knew they were going to have to do tonight is get off to a fast start against a team that's plus 10 in the turnover margin. And that time, it looked like just a bad errant throw and they were right there to capitalize. And that's something that Findlay's done pretty well this year, Norm, is take care of the football. So this is a great opportunity for St. John's to jump on these guys early.
Well, Mogalu's throw got tipped at the line of scrimmage, and that's what made it flutter. Now, Winslow out of the shotgun accounted for 5 touchdowns last week. More than 200 yards on the ground and in the air. Will swing it out left side. Complete. And I believe that was number 7, Jonathan Freisner. One of the slot guys. To the 16, 2nd and 4. Hand off up the middle this time, not much there.
Well, St. John's has been without Sean Ratty, offensive and defensive lineman. Received a scholarship already from the University of Toledo. Is getting interest from a lot of other places. He's out with an ankle injury, tore some ligaments, had a little bit of a fracture. They're hoping they can get him back next week.
So Dick Anderson's a tailback, and he's making his first start back there. 3rd and 4. We got movement up front. That might be a St. John's first down.
You mentioned Anderson. One of the leaders on this team was actually hurt in the offseason. Just trying to now to get back to full strength.
So 1st and 10 at the 11. Now we get an official stoppage of play. Well, not sure what that was about. Oh, except to say that it's a first down. He did not announce that. 5-yard walk-off on 2nd and 4. Winslow are going to keep it this time. Got a block up the middle inside the 5. Short of the goal line, but might have the first down.
Well, we got a chance to do a couple of Whitmer games last year, Norm, on Toledo Sports Network, and you really saw the power with Winslow's arm. He's still grown into his body, about 6'2", 6'3", but last week against St. Francis really showing the wheels, and even that time finishing at the end of the run, throwing out an arm, trying to get across that goal line.
So 1st and goal. King is the deep back. No sign yet. And didn't get in. Winslow tried the quarterback sneak, but did not get in. And this is an area where St. John's has got to get 6. Anderson and King out of the eye. King will get the call this time. King over the left guard into the end zone, touchdown.
Well, great start if you're a Titans fan, not so much if you're a Findlay fan, but way for St. John's to get off to a fast start against a team once again that's done a great job taking care of the football and defensively has really gotten after it. 8 different guys with an interception this year. And I really think you're going to see this offense play with a lot more confidence tonight, especially over that win against St. Francis at home.
Pete McIntyre for the extra point. It is up and it is good. So 9:56 to go in the first. St. John's off the turnover. Takes a 7-0 lead over Findlay. You're watching the Toledo Sports Network and CW13.
On the job for you for over 100 years. You need a career. You need a future. Local 8 can help you make it happen. Join the men and women who build our community. Become a part of a proud tradition. Build your career. Build your future with the brothers and sisters of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 8. We're on the job for you.
We're on the job for you. We're the local IBEW.
7-0 St. John's with the early lead, and I will emphasize the word early because I think there's going to be a lot of scoring tonight. Kick going to be taken at about the 1-yard line. Niswander back up across the 15, did not make it out to the 20. So good coverage that time by St. John's. A little bit of a breeze tonight, and as you're looking at the field from left to right, and a fairly significant breeze. We'll see if that plays into anything tonight, any of the aerial game, any of the kicking game.
Well, one thing Findlay's done a great job this year, too, Norm, is running the football. That was something they really couldn't do last year. More of a balanced attack.
On first down, Mogalu will get the call. Around the left side. Boy, you know, he's one broken tackle away from going for a long way. Dick Anderson on the tackle. Seven-yard gain on first down. Back to throw, bubble screen. 35. Stiff arm, 40, 45, down the sidelines, and finally out of bounds.
And that's one of their go-to plays, Norm, and that was something that Coach Pearson talked to me about yesterday, how they run the jailbreak screen better than anybody. You see right there, just a great job setting up the blocking downfield and getting ready to set the play right away again.
38-yard gain. Here's Mogalu, left side. Race for the corner. Nice cut to the inside, and a walk into the end zone, touchdown.
What a way for Findlay to bounce back. But once again, one of their bread and butter plays on the screen. Great blocking downfield. You see Mogalu right there with the little stutter step. And gets into the end zone. But just a balanced attack of Findlay. This is part of the reason they're 4-0. They can run it, they can throw it, and they keep you on your toes defensively, and especially when you don't really get much of a breather in between plays.
3 plays, 80 yards, just like that, in less than a minute. 43 seconds by my count. A great tradition of kickers, and Grant McKimmis is the latest. That one good, and we're tied. 9:09 to go first quarter. Findlay 7, St. John 7. We'll be back. It's the Toledo Sports Network and CW 13.
The Union Plumbers, Steam Fitters, and HVACR service mechanics of UA Local 50 build the powerhouses that generate your electricity. Install and service your heating and air conditioning systems, and install the plumbing systems that protect the health of this nation. Everywhere there's a building being built, retrofitted, or maintained, members of UA Local 50 are on the job with skills and the latest sustainable building practices to do the job right. UA Local 50 Plumbers, Steam Fitters, and service mechanics, building America's future.
McKinnis to kick off. Strong kick will go through the back of the end zone. And that's into a bit of a breeze, too, just to let everybody at home know. So now we get to see St. John's run their offense from their own end. They capitalize on the tipped interception to start the game.
Well, and they played with a lot of confidence in practice this week. They had a good week of practice, according to Coach Pearson. And when you think about a win like that, Norm, against your arch rival in St. Francis to open conference play, especially with the tough non-conference schedule they had, it's exactly what they needed coming into this one tonight.
Winsler, 6'3", 178-pound junior. Going to option it right side, and Fraser gets racked up behind the line. Going to lose about 3.
Number 7, Jonathan Treacher on the carry, followed by number 4, Sam Conquest. Number 13.
There's one thing that St. John's doesn't have right now. It's that go-to tailback.
Yeah, sort of tailback by committee so far this year.
But you got to spy Winsler because he might be the fastest guy on St. John's. Quick pass, it's complete, 25, and out of bounds. Max McCormick on the reception. Very close to a first down.
And McCormick, turned it into one of their better playmakers, too, offensively. 17 catches for 222 yards, averaging 13.1 per reception. See a nice little move at the end that time to pick up, get close to a first down. Let's see if they give him the first down.
Yep, they're going to give him the first down. Just nosed the ball across the 30. McCormick comes in the leading receiver, 17 catches, couple of touchdowns. Swing pass, complete, trying to get around the corner, not going to happen. Pete McIntyre ridden out of bounds.
And you see the high energy of this Findlay defense, Norm. One thing Coach Ritzler talked about, they're a 4-4 base. They usually try to keep somebody in the middle of the field, usually do cover 3. They're not as big as they have been in past years, so they've just put an emphasis on getting a hat on the football and playing with a lot of high energy on defense, and it's translated well this year. with 8 different guys with an interception so far in the season.
2nd and 13. Winsler going to keep it himself, but there is no question that Findlay is going to key on him all night long, and they better.
Well, he woke everybody up last week with, I think what really caught people's attention was 200-plus yards on the ground, and being a part of every one of St. John's touchdowns, you know you're going to have to keep an eye on him tonight.
All right, 3rd and 12, tied at 7, 7:40 to go first quarter. Out of the pistol, and Winsler back to throw. Got a man. Complete. Can he get the first down? No. McCormick on the reception. Knew he had to get another yard or two, but just couldn't quite get there.
Yeah, in that situation, young fella trying to make a play, probably could have tried to fall forward and pick it up. He ended up cutting back and losing a couple of yards, so you can't fault the young man for trying to make a play that time.
Not sure that would have been enough to get the first down. He had a couple of guys right in front of him, so he kind of tried to cut it back in and around, but couldn't quite get there. So the Titans will have to punt it away. Good snap, no rush. Winsler, the punter, will get it away. Going to let it bounce at about the 29. Taking a St. John's roll. Look at that kick. Inside the 15, down near the 10, inside the 10, and rolls dead at about the 8-yard line.
Well, and it's been that second level where St. John's is getting beat right now. It's not necessarily at the point of attack.
So the block in the back will bring it back to the 35. Mogaloo with the call, hit behind the line. The initial penetration was number 75, Noah Elliott. 6'3", 275-pound junior.
And Tyler Kratzman, 44, coming in there to clean it up. But just as I said, that you see the point of attack, they're doing okay right now.
And they won't hesitate. See if it's complete. Apparently it is. Dakota Fay on the reception, and it should be enough for the first down. No pause, because here we go again. Mule got it to Niswander. 50, and close to another first down. It's going to get a good spot. He got a real nice spot because he was short of the first down, but the mark is going to give him a first down.
Well, Ryan Rubel did a good job that time for the Titans of shedding the block by Findlay.
Mule again will hand off to Mogaloo, hit behind the line. That time, Jacob Jeffries was in on the tackle first. Second and 10. Mule faked the handoff. It's one-on-one to Niswander down the sidelines. He stepped out of bounds. That's not going to count. He stepped out of bounds. And that was pretty much right in front of us.
Yeah, and pretty good coverage by Tyson Anderson.
Now, unless they say he was forced out. And that's what they're going to say. They're going to say he was forced out. So they picked up the flag, even though Niswander did step out of bounds.
And Tyson Anderson, just a sophomore, single coverage that time. Good read by Mule down the field to go after the young fella.
And Mule's 5 of 5.
But you see the nice hands by Niswander to come back in here and make this catch. Good shot that time on our field cam.
Good job, guys. Tyson Anderson was on the coverage, and they ruled that he forced Niswander out. McKinnis for the extra point. It is good. So with 5:02 to go in the first, Findlay takes their first lead, 14-7 over St. John's. We'll be back to Toledo Sports Network and CW13.
I thought I would like to be on TV. I never thought it would end my career.
You can't always stop a thief, but a security DVR from TAS in your vehicle can help you capture them. Discreet, motion activated, always vigilant. For as little as $149 installed, you get a real sense of security.
I almost got away with it.
TAS Electronics, it's hot.
14-7, Findlay with the lead. Still 5:02 to go in the first. And now comes the point of the game where St. John's has to try and keep up. That was a 92-yard drive by Findlay. Through the end zone. We're not going to be calling too many St. John's returns tonight. And that's with the wind in his face.
Yeah, that's a nice boot right there. But what I like about Findlay is composure, and that's something that you can attribute to Coach Mark Ritzler and his staff. You know, this is a team that he's preaching to his guys still, Norm. You know, we haven't done anything just yet. We're 1-0 in the track. We're 4-0 in the league. But if we want to prove how good we are, we need to continue to stay the course.
Now first down for St. John's on their own 20, now trailing 14-7. Winsler, quick out. McCormick, out of bounds. Short gain, but 6, maybe even 7.
And McCormick's got nice size, 6'3", 188. So far, Findlay hasn't really had an answer for him in single coverage.
Well, staying out of them second and longs. You're in 2nd and 3. There's a lot more you can do here. 7 in the box. Winslow tried to keep it himself. Too much penetration. Nothing opened up, and he had 2 choices, and they were both bad.
Well, yeah, exactly. And you see how fast Findlay gets to the football, how they read their keys. You know, this isn't a real easy offense to defend, as St. John's proved last week against St. Francis.
No, but you notice the defense is flowing to wherever Winsler's going.
Exactly.
So now it's 3rd and 5. Winsler looking left, looking for McCormick. Incomplete. Led him a little too far. Good coverage. The defender's got a right to be there.
Yeah, Nick Kiffmeyer did a good job that time. 5'11", 184-pound senior. But once again, you look at this defense, you've got 4 guys, at least 25-plus tackles already. They're keying on Winsler, making it difficult for him. They've had some stuff on the edges, but not too much downfield right now.
But 3 and outs against Findlay. You're going to have problems. High kick, short kick this time. Fair catch being called for. And Findlay is going to get terrific field position at about their own 42 with 4:10 to go here in the first quarter.
Keep an eye on, once again, only a sophomore, 1 of 6. That's starting for St. John's. Tight coverage, but Nicewander's one of the best in the biz right now on the track in terms of outside getting open.
Tell you what, picking this Findlay team 7th is one of the biggest blown picks I've seen in a long time. Mogaloo about 3 to the 48. Or I'm sorry, they start at the 42, so they would be about 6 on first down.
Well, and the way they're executing right now, it reminds me of Central 8 years ago when they were picked to finish, I think, 4th in the city and ended up winning the state championship.
Quick out complete. Hammond. First down to the 43.
Pass complete to Hammond. Tackled by number
9 yards on the gain. And this just really puts your defense on its heels. Mogaloo. Got a block. Well, got an illegal block there. And this one's going to come back.
Yeah, it's 54 right there for Findlay. I think that's who you're going to get the call on. Sam Iliff, 6'4", 243 lineman. And that one is coming back. You know, and this is a game too, Norm. Findlay plays this one with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. This rivalry started in '91. Findlay won the first 2 that Pearson was head coach, and then St. John's won 6 in a row. And they beat them on homecoming last year, and this is Findlay's homecoming this year.
Findlay's had the 1 turnover, and now their 3rd penalty. Mule, plenty of time. Throws on the run, it's complete. Hammond again.
Pass complete to Fay, run out of bounds by number 6, Matt McCormick.
Kind of a similar defensive scheme for St. John's there with an umbrella, keeping everything in front. Probably be giving up 10 yards on first down with a quick pitch and catch.
And right now, St. John's kind of in a sort of a bend but don't break mode, trying to just keep those guys in front, not let them break it out to the edge.
Niswander with the complete short gain, only about a yard.
Tackled by number 18, Derek DeHanas.
Derek DeHanas made a great fundamental tackle that time, collapsing, getting the legs together, not hitting them up top. And that's really how you got to bring down some of these playmakers for Findlay.
Third
They're
and
elusive.
third and about 8. Movement on the defensive line, but he didn't break the plane. Now they're going to look to change the play. Going to stack 4 guys on the far side. Here comes the pressure. Throws, almost complete, but skipped it to Dakota Fay. And that's the first incomplete by Brandon Mule after completing 8 in a row.
Well, great pressure off the edge that time for St. John's from number 55. Larry Glover a couple of times tonight has made Mule get rid of it before he wanted to. And that time just doing a good job. And once again, at the point of attack, Norm, in between the hashes, St. John's has done a pretty good job snuffing out the run, getting initial pressure, but it's been from 5 yards to 10-yard range where they've been getting beat.
All right, McInnes to punt this away, going to angle for the corner. Now it is out of bounds. Now it's a matter of where. And walking back to the 10, to the 11, 12. We're going to settle on the 13. So a 28-yard punt, no return.
Well, that gives us a chance to say thanks to our sponsors as well. IBEW Local 8, UA Local 50 Pipe Fitters and Plumbers, and TAS Electronics. Winter's going to be coming before you know it, folks. Hopefully it's not a mammoth like it was last year, but for all your car audio and winterizing needs, go to TAS Electronics. They'll hook you up.
People are telling me the Farmer's Almanac is not painting a rosy picture of winter.
Yeah. I ignore it until it happens.
Well, I wasn't saying making your plans off it. I'm just passing the info along. Winslow on first down. Went to keep it himself and had nowhere to go. You can't run the read play if you have no time to run it.
That's going to be a lot of beef in there for St. John's offensive line to try to push out of space.
And Dorian Thames that time making a great stop up front. 5'11", 191.
The offensive line has just got to do a better job. Out of the pistol on 2nd and 12. Winslow has a little time, throws a little high, and it's picked off. That pass floated. Number 13 on the interception. That's Nick Kiffmeyer. And he kind of double clutched and threw it anyway. And boy, if it's not there the first time, it's not going to be there the second time.
Well, and that gave Kiffmeyer enough time to sneak in front of the receiver and make the interception. And give credit to Kiffmeyer. He did a good job on Max McCormick on the previous drive. Single coverage on the outside. Winslow sailed that one a little bit, but did a great job of reading the quarterback's eyes that time. And once again, nothing too fancy that you're seeing from the Trojans right now. 4-4 base, cover 3. Try to have a guy in the middle of the field, and that's right where he was that time.
And we've seen Winslow, I think, so far lock on his receivers and not look off anyone. Mule rolls, and now he just throws it into the ground. He had a receiver in the vicinity, Dakota Fay.
Pass intended for number 84, Dakota Fay, fall incomplete.
You know, one thing that makes Mule hard to stop, too, at 6'5", he can see over the line of scrimmage. And we get a flag coming in. I wonder if we're getting a little jabbing going on right now, if this is going to be a personal foul.
Well, unless they're calling grounding in the sense that pass didn't get beyond the line of scrimmage. I think it's a tough call if they do that. There is no in-the-pocket rule in high school.
Right.
So that's not part of it. Is that what they called grounding?
Yep.
So fourth penalty for Findlay. They'll wipe out the incompletes. Actually, it won't. It's a loss of down. So it'll be 2nd and 25. Findlay, though, is not daunted by a 2nd and 25. Swings it out. Pass is complete. Hammond out of bounds. Got a nice chunk of that back.
Run out of bounds by number 12.
Well, and they're just really just running this with precision right now. And their receivers are fast and they're elusive.
They got 13 of the 25 back, 3rd and 12. Mule all kinds of time. Throws, got a man at the 15. That's Hammond again.
Number 24, Joey Hammond. Tackled by number 15, Eric Gear.
5th catch for Hammond, and we're still in the first quarter. 4th and a little more than a yard. Keeper, Mule, first down. Can he get to the corner? Got a nice block. Ridden out of bounds. Inside the 10.
Good read that time. Held it for a long time before he kept it himself. Almost went to Mogaloo. St. John's did a good job reading Mogaloo. And you see right here, releases late once he sees the pressure coming in on the outside from Larry Glover.
Mogaloo will get it this time. Left side broke a tackle into the end zone, touchdown. And St. John's defensively, when you have a 1st and 25, you just have to hold. You just have to hold. Substitution infraction of the defense. It'll be declined, obviously. But that's where you got to make your stand when it's 1st and 25. And to think about it, we're still in the first quarter, and this is Findlay's 5th possession already. Sometimes you get 5.5.
Yeah, yeah. Well, once again, a fast start for St. John's, but you see Mule at 6'5" back there. You know, no huddle.
Yeah, Mule 6'5", 205. He's a senior. Was down on the field earlier standing next to him, and he's all that at 6'5".
Yeah.
He is all that.
I mean, so you have that advantage to see over the line of scrimmage, and you see the receivers, the precise route running so far from Hammond and Nicewander especially tonight. Makes it tough to stop.
Extra point. Good. 52 seconds to go in the quarter. Findlay 21, St. John's 7. We'll be back. It's the Toledo Sports Network and CW 13.
You've planned and planned. Each moment of your special day just has to be perfect. You don't want to worry about anything. Just know that you've hired professionals to make your wedding day special. Mike Jameson with Creative Video Imagery has produced award-winning weddings for over 15 years. Our company has the equipment and the artistic ability to capture your day on digital DVD, giving you lasting memories of a day you will cherish forever. Call Creative Video Imagery today or visit our website, Creative Video Imagery, making moments into lifetime memories.
52 seconds to go in the first quarter, 21-7. Findlay, who reeled off 3 straight touchdowns with 1 punt in the middle. 5-yard walk-off for the substitution infraction. So McInnes will kick off at the 45 like he needs the extra 5 yards. Might kick this out of the stadium. Well, that one landed toward the back of the end zone.
Well, and like you said,
he was into the wind. So
they're no strangers to having good kickers over the years. Just a few years ago, had a young fella at University of Notre Dame. I mean, you know, but that's what you look at what Ritzler's been able to do with these guys. You see the execution tonight. It's not just talent that gets you to 4-0. And I thought one thing that was telling of when I got a chance to talk to him yesterday, Norm, was, you know, this isn't a team like the team they had a couple years ago where they had superstars like Settlemyre. This is a good all-around football team, and they're pretty healthy after the first 4 games. If they had injuries, they'd still be pretty consistent.
So 1st and 10, St. John's in their own 20, and they got to string together some first downs. Winsler going to keep it himself. He'll pick up 4 to the 24. Offensive line did a better job that time. And in this offense, with the read option style of offense, those guys have to hold their blocks. Out of the pistol on 2nd and 6. Winsler to Johnoff, close to a first down.
Pass complete to number 3, Wyatt Johnoff.
Johnoff doing a good job. I mean, they're doing a good job on the edges right now. Johnoff, Max McCormick, but like you said, eventually you got to convert on 3rd down.
And this will be the final play of the first quarter. It's Findlay 21, St. John 7. We'll be back for the second quarter coming up. Toledo Sports Network and CW 13.
Do your utility bills have you down? Get out from under those heavy bills with new windows from Dunright Building Services. New windows from Dunright can change the vision of your home both inside and out. And right now, for a limited time only, you can get any white double-hung standard window for only $179 each. Remember, for a job done right, you better call Dunright.
New home, same address. It starts with new windows. Call us at Dunright Building Services today.
Second quarter ready to go here at Donnell Stadium in Findlay. Norm Raymer, Mike Bauman, Toledo Sports Network, CW 13. St. John's got on top 7-0 off a turnover to start the game, but it's been all Findlay since then. 21-7 Trojans. Winsler out of the pistol. Handoff up the middle. Anderson 35 and out close to the 37. And I think that's a big key, Mike, to be able to get second and shorts tonight.
Yeah, and they've done a decent job of doing that so far. It's just been converted on 3rd downs, and obviously the last drive, a tough interception to set up Findlay's last touchdown.
Now this time it's 2nd and 3. McIntyre, the one in motion, and the ball hit the ground, and McIntyre covers the fumble. They're going to lose this. Oh, I guess he did not cover the fumble. 47 is the one who ended up with it, Aaron Kupferberg.
Yeah, and I wonder,
he's a sophomore linebacker.
It looked like Peter McIntyre had it. If we can get the replay on that, and Kupferberg looks like he just took it away at the end.
Trojans will start at the Texas 30-yard line.
But I thought Pete McIntyre may have fallen on it for St. John's, but no whistle, and Aaron Kupferberg comes in there and gets the ball back for Findlay.
Well, he was there for it, but that doesn't mean he ended up with it. And that's the second St. John's turnover.
And consecutive drives, too.
And here is Mogaloo. Cut it back in, broke a tackle, got into the secondary and gone. Touchdown.
You know, and that's a backbreaker, and give credit to Findlay. You're seeing them offensively clicking on all cylinders. But what's good as this team is, Norm, obviously it goes without saying you can't have turnovers in 2 straight possessions. And that was something that Doug Pearson talked about yesterday when I got a chance to speak with him before this game about they needed to play mistake-free football tonight with no penalties, no stupid penalties, not shooting themselves in the foot. They've done it a couple of times this season.
Well,
and back-to-back turnovers.
Doug Pearson's not going to like what he saw on that when he looks at tape, because not only did they not wrap up on the tackle, some others did not follow through on the play and stay after it. Extra point is good. 11:14 to go in the second. It's now Findlay 28, St. John 7. We'll be back on the Toledo Sports Network and CW 13. Big kick by McInnes. That will go past the back of the end zone with a little bit of wind to his back. What did you mention in the pregame that Findlay was a plus 10 on turnovers?
Plus 10 in the turnover margin coming into this game tonight.
Well,
and right now they've
plus
got 2.
1 tonight.
Yeah, right now they got 2 in back-to-back possessions for St. John's, and that's one thing. You obviously you see the speed, you see this up-tempo offense for Findlay, but St. John's, it's a 14-7 ball game, and you give the ball to Findlay twice. on their side of the 50. That's hard to overcome. And as you mentioned the last play, Pearson not going to be happy about not following through on the tackle.
Winslow on first down, looking right, throwing right, complete. Freddie, the wide receiver, Joe Fretti, out of bounds. Looks like he's just short of the first down. Well, no. Looks like I think they're moving the sticks. Yeah, got 10 and a first down.
It's happened a couple times tonight.
Well, they didn't turn the down box over right away. And now we're going to get a St. John's timeout. First and 10 for St. John's at their own 30-yard line. Empty backfield. Winslow to his left will throw it, and he threw it behind the intended receiver, Jonoff. That is one of the more difficult throws for a high school quarterback, for a right-handed quarterback, running to his left and then trying to throw back across his body.
Well, what I like from what I see from Max McCormick, he runs pretty good routes. I mean, he doesn't just rely on his size to catch the football. That time did a good job sitting down in the middle of the field.
3 catches tonight, 31 yards. Second and 10 now for the Titans. Option. Right side, not much running room.
You know, and Jonoff's another one in the slot. I think that actually may have been to him on the last attempt at 6'2", 175. He's a junior, so Winslow will have him back next year. And his numbers are good so far. I mean, doing a good job in terms of completion rate, minus that 1 interception tonight. Once again, they've done a really good job getting to the edge of the field. Findlay's just done a better job of keeping them from making the big play.
Just a gain of 1 on that play. We're looking at 3rd and 9 for St. John's. Winslow looks left, throws left, incomplete. McCormick had to try to come back for it, and even if he would have caught it, that would have left him well short of the first down.
Yeah, 3 deep again for Findlay.
That is a tough throw. You're on the right hash, and you're trying to throw to the left sidelines. I mean, that is aching for an interception. That ball it's got to go 30 yards or so to get to its target. Winslow to punt it away. Wobbly kick, end over end. Fair catch, fumbled, and St. John's might have it. They do.
And they do.
Second Findlay turnover.
And this is where you have to turn it into something if you're St. John's. Once again, I mean, doing a great job moving the ball on first down, just not converting. And once again, you got to give credit to the Findlay defense. They've pretty much taken away a lot of the stuff in the middle of the field after the timeout. That's exactly what St. John's tried to do. A little bit behind Wyatt Jonoff was the throw.
Well, I think the wind played a factor in that because he was punting into the wind, and it really knocked that ball down. So St. John's into Findlay territory at the 45. Down 28-7, really need to capitalize, and now we're going to get a second St. John's timeout. And that now with being on CW 13. On first down, handoff. And that was
Pete McIntyre.
That's interesting.
One of the receivers coming over in motion, which we heard before the game we would see tonight.
Out of the 5 running backs I had listed, he was not one of them. Second and 8. Left side, and McCormick didn't quite get turned around in time to find the football.
Almost a good catch. Little back shoulder throw that time. But once again, he had to come back for it. And another tough throw. I mean, this is really what you're seeing what Winslow's made of here. Throwing into the wind. It's a strong wind. And that time just a little bit behind McCormick. But St. John's getting some life here after the turnover. But at some point, you got to be able to run the football a little bit. And give credit to Findlay up front for taking that away so far.
Yeah, that was McIntyre's 3rd carry all year. Winslow tipped, incomplete. Fortunate it was not picked off, and that's the fourth straight incompletion through the air.
You know, in just about every single play, you're seeing Findlay rush off the edge. Primarily, usually their stand-up guy is number 31, Chase Horrig, 5'11", 180. And he's coming off the edge pretty much at a stand-up every time. So Winsler's getting rushed with 4 or 5 on every single play.
Well, it looks like they're going to go for it on 4th and 8. And down already 28-7. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. You're into Findlay territory at the 43. Winsler, quarterback draw. Snuffed out. Robert Hammond was the first one that got a hold of him. And when Hammond got a hold of him, he didn't let go and got a lot of help after that.
Well, and that's part of what they try to do out of the spear gun with St. John's. They'll try to hit you on the edge and do a couple of draws up the middle. That worked a few times against St. Francis last week, but obviously good film study by the Findlay Trojans, snuffing it out up the middle.
8 carries, 4 yards by Winsler after running for better than 200 last week. They are going to make somebody else beat them. Mogaloo, 45, still not down. Now he's down. And St. John's better play through to the whistle, because how many broken tackles have we seen Mogaloo have so far?
Jacob Jeffries did a great job that time flying to the football. And once again, going low on Mogaloo, and that's what you have to do to take him down. You really have to get him at his knees below and wrap up his ankles. Another screen.
Hammond, and out of bounds.
And you know, if you're St. John's, you'll take that. You want your guys in the secondary, obviously, to seal off the edge of the field and not let them turn up the field. That's how they got beat on both those big touchdown plays early in the first quarter, by letting them turn the corner and get upfield.
6th catch for Hammond so far. 3-man stack to the left on 1st and 10. 9:15 to go in the second, 28-7. Findlay with the lead. Mule throws. Oh, had his man down the middle, Dakota Fay, and led him just a little bit too far.
Well, and give credit that time to Mule, nice read, and Nicewander, who scored already tonight. They faked a screen and go try to hit him up over the middle of the field, and St. John's was there in coverage. Sailed the throw a little bit, but there were 2 guys there waiting.
Out of the pistol, well, now just out of the shotgun here on 2nd and 10. Mule, that bubble screen was not there, and he'll throw it away. And it really wasn't a receiver in that area. That was a lineman. They were Nicewander. They were trying to set up the bubble screen with Nicewander, and that was not there at all.
You know, one of the hog mollies up front for the Titans, Larry Glover, has been bringing the pressure tonight. Haven't gotten to him yet, but they've done a good job forcing the throw.
3rd and 10, and this is where St. John's has to hold. Incomplete. Just behind Hammond. Otherwise, he might still be running.
Well, and one of the advantages of this up-tempo offense, a lot of plays, it keeps your defense on your toes, but also if you're St. John's right now, Norm, you have a chance to still get back into this one. If you can get a touchdown here before the first half is over, you get the ball to start the second half. So those 2 turnovers are real key, and that's an advantage they have in this up-tempo offense.
Second punt by Findlay. And a fair catch called at about the 10-yard line. If you think about this too, Mike, this was already the 8th possession by Findlay, and we're just a shade over 15 minutes into this game.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that doesn't count the 7 possessions at Sage. So there's been 15 possessions in 15 minutes of this game.
Yeah.
And this is possession number 16.
And even though we're seeing a lot of high school teams open it up and spread the ball around more, in terms of going no huddle the way you're seeing it tonight, that's the results you're going to get.
Well, if you have the better team, then you want as many possessions as possible. So on 1st down, Winsler not much there again. You know, think about this. If you're playing horse or something with somebody in the driveway, do you want like a best of 3 if they're really a lot better than you, or you want a best of 100?
Right.
Best of 100, you know who's going to win. Second and 10. Winsler got a man. That's John off. Close to a first down.
And they've been getting that pretty much all night on the edge of the field. The question is, will they get that play across the middle that they really need in between the hashes? Because they haven't been able to open up the middle of the field with this cover 3 that you're seeing from Findlay.
That's enough for the first down. First and 10 at the 20. 8:11 to go here in the second. Handoff up the middle. Rick Curry with his first carry. And he's the bruiser back.
Number 47, Rick Curry.
He'll pick up about 4.
Number 47, Aaron Kupferberg.
Second and 6. Winsler over the middle. Got a man. First down. Friesner on the reception. Gain of 19.
And that's what'll happen when you go to the edge of the field. You got McCormick out there, Jonoff catching a couple. Now you get some stuff that'll open it up in the middle of the field. But once again, Findlay doing a good job up front, snuffing out the run game. So it's pretty much all eyes on Winsler right now for the Trojans defense.
Well, you still see 6-7 in the box. Nothing there for Winsler.
And until if they're able to break one off up the middle, that little read is going to be tough tonight for Winsler to get that open up the middle that he was able to get against the Knights last week.
You know, count the players in the box. You got 6, but they're cheating a couple on the edges, if possible. Winsler with the play fake. Throws, got McCormick. First down.
And that's just good timing right there. And once again, you see the precision of McCormick coming across the middle. Winsler hits him 2 or 3 steps into his stride after he turns his head, so he ran into the football. That's just a good throw right there from Winsler.
Gain of 16. And if they're not going to give you the ground in the middle, then
you got to make up for it somehow.
Keep doing what you're doing here. Nobody broke the plane on the line of scrimmage, and we're looking right down that 41-yard line. Winsler, another completion. That time it's John off. And you don't have to get 21 points all back on one throw. I mean, this is a methodical, really nice drive.
Well, and you can see Winsler starting to get into a rhythm a little bit.
And Winsler's completed 4 in a row after 4 straight incompletes. Now here comes the pressure. He's going to roll out. This is where he's dangerous. Good coverage on the play. He'll still pick up 3, maybe 4.
And, you know, one thing that's impressive about Findlay up front, you know, they're not super big, but they're quick off the line of scrimmage, and they're coming every play. I mean, Dorian Thames is one of the guys up there, 5'11", 191 he's listed at. And from my vantage point up here, I'm not sure if he's all of that 5'11", but he's fast off the ball right by the nose.
And even though that's a 3-yard gain, that was potentially a sack. So he turned a potential 7-8-yard loss into a 3-yard gain. And now St. John's going to use their final timeout of the half for St. John's. Fake handoff, Winsler. See, just not much in there. He made 3, maybe 4 out of it. But there's not a lot of running room in there.
Well, and I think the one thing that stood out to me watching Findlay tonight is just their quickness, offensively and defensively. You see all the hats flying to the football, not trying really to do anything fancy in terms of their coverage, just rushing for every time at St. John's. And offensively, you see the quick feet of Mogaloo and Nicewander and the like. They're just a fast team.
3rd and 3. First down, Curry on the carry. And he is your atypical north and south runner.
Tough kid there for Rick Curry.
Number 47, Rick Curry on the
You mentioned one of the bruisers back there for St. John's, kind of running back by committee this year.
It's interesting because he's not that big. Curry, 5'8", 162, a junior. But he gets down low, both arms around the ball, squares his shoulders.
Well, and sometimes those stout guys are some of the hardest to bring down because they have such a low center of gravity.
Absolutely. He makes it lower, too. Winsler. Now rolling. And incomplete.
Yeah, nice catch.
Could not keep it in bounds. And I thought he had basically thrown it away, but Jonoff thought he could stay in bounds.
Well, and you like to see the effort, and especially a guy like Pearson. He's an intense coach, a fiery coach. If you're going to play for Pearson, that's one thing you got to have on your resume is effort. And to give credit to St. John's, they've bounced back in this one after being down early.
I didn't like the amount of time that ball was in the air, though.
Yeah.
2nd and 10. Curry again. Comes a helmet. Curry may be a yard.
Number 47, Rick Curry on the carry.
And that was number 53, Jose Ochoa. Once again, just a shorter, speedy. I mean, there's definitely been bigger Findlay teams, but these guys are just fast. Ochoa, another one up front, 5'9", about $1.90.
3rd and 9. Winsler. Oh, he just got it in between the seam into the end zone. Touchdown, Jonoff with a terrific catch on a ball that was thrown behind him.
If there were a Toledo top 10, like a Sports Center top 10, that would be one tonight. On the catch and the throw, Jonoff stretching both arms out behind him to pull it back in. And once again, a couple of nice runs. Findlay had to respect a little bit, and it opened up the middle of the field on that drive.
Extra point is good with 3:44 to go in the second. It's now Findlay 28, St. John's 14. We'll be back on the Toledo Sports Network and CW13. Titans to kick off in what was a very, very nice drive. A little better than 5 minutes, about 5:11 on the drive. And one of the first returns we've had tonight.
Nicewander on the return.
Nicewander out to about the 23. But a nice drive by St. John's, and they chewed some clock. Took up about 5 minutes and 11 seconds.
Well, in that drive, too, you had a couple of decent runs from Rick Curry. Again, from Winsler rolling out, making something out of nothing, and that kind of had to make Findlay respect the edge a little bit more, opens up the middle of the field, and that's exactly where they were able to get that touchdown. Just a nice catch from Jonoff. But once again, it does not take Findlay to get back on the scoreboard. It does not take long. So you just can't give up the big play here if you're St. John's.
Winsler completed 5 out of 6 on that drive. Here's the pitch to Mogaloo. Broke one tackle, broke another tackle, but ran into 3 more. He's going to lose about 3 on the play. And that's as good a penetration we've seen out of St. John's all night.
Well, the one consistent guy up front from our vantage point up here up in the booth has been Larry Glover for sure, number 55.
Another quick snap, Mule. Got a man, first down. Looked like Fay.
And with this win, I mean, I think you could comfortably say if Findlay gets to the 35 with their kicker and that leg, they can have a pretty good shot of hitting a field goal.
Now back to throw again. Got another man. Joe Hammond. 13 more yards. Seventh catch by Joe Hammond.
Yeah, he's been the one guy that's been able to get open a lot across the middle of the field tonight for Findlay.
Came in with 25 catches. Here's Niswander with another catch. Flag flies. This could come back.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a hold right on the initial block right there on the outside that helped Niswander break free and get up to the sideline. This one's going to come back.
Holding on the offense. That would be penalty number 5 for the Findlay Trojans. .246 to go in the half, and the clock will start. Mule gets time to look over the defense. Mogaloo on the delay. Broke one tackle. Now he's got running room. Now he's into the secondary. Now he broke another tackle and cut it to the right. Now it's a race to the corner of the end zone. Got a block. Touchdown Trojans. 55 yards.
And once again, you see the shiftiness of Mogaloo. He's one of the best of the biz in our corner of the world here in Northwest Ohio. St. John's tried to disguise the blitz that time, backing off the line of scrimmage. They get the read they want, but once again, Mogaloo's able to break the first tackle and break into that second, third level. And you see the wheels on him, Norm, once he gets past that 10 yards range.
Just 5'9", 167, but boy, is he tough to bring down. 10 carries, 148 yards, and 4 touchdowns here in the first half. McInnes for the extra point. Good. So with 2:18 to go in the half, it's now Findlay 35, St. John's 14. We'll be back. Toledo Sports Network, CW 13. And blocked very well downfield. Because I can't count. He got 3 or 4 blocks after he got past the line of scrimmage, including Hammond, who threw the final block here on the right side, the close side, near side of the field.
Well, and you see the way Findlay attacks too, Norm. I mean, yes, this is up-tempo, and it kind of gives your defense a hard time to catch their breath, but we've really only seen one deep downfield throw tonight to Niswander on the one touchdown. The rest of them, a lot of them have been bubble screens, jailbreak screens. I mean, it's very short passing scenarios, but the blocking downfield, as you mentioned, freeing these guys up once they catch the ball allows them to make moves in space.
Findlay is just so good at execution, and they're such a good blocking team. And I say this all the time, no matter what the play call is, it'll work if you execute it correctly. Bubble screen, McCormick juggled it and tackled behind the line. All right, so it'll be second down at about 13. Winsler over the middle, got him in. That would be Freisner. And enough for the first down.
You know, and that throw wasn't really there in the first quarter, and it's been there here sort of the second half of the second quarter and on. And that's allowing Winsler to move the ball around better instead of just getting it to the edge of the field.
Winsler, incomplete.
You know, and not just the execution with Findlay, but this is a bit of a rivalry game for them. You know, St. John's is one of those schools that's pretty consistent in every single sport. So this is always a matchup that the Trojans look forward to on their schedule, especially on homecoming night.
Quarterback draw. Boy, they have just sniffed that out all night long. And about 6. A quick swing it out to Anderson. Anderson with the double pass, got a man wide open. At the 25, that's Johnoff. And into the end zone, touchdown. How about that?
What a play call from the Titans. Completely fooled the Findlay defense. Once again, the Trojans bringing pressure off the edge. Chase Horrig out there read the initial pass well. And look at the arm that time.
64 yards from Dick Anderson to Johnoff. Anderson's second attempted pass of the season. First one was incomplete. That one's pay dirt. Extra point is good, so at the minute 36, Findlay indeed will get the ball back. But after St. John's scores, it's Findlay 35, St. John's 21. You're watching the Toledo Sports Network and CW13. 64-yard halfback pass for a touchdown. Fumbled but picked it right back up. 20-25 and out near the 30. Now Findlay will have one timeout in a minute 29 to try to go 70 yards, and they've done it already tonight.
They have. And, if you're on St. John's, you would probably argue that it's a lack of your execution. If you're on Findlay's side, you would probably argue that it's your execution and your downfield blocking that's allowed your playmakers to get in space and get into that second and third level of the defense. But you got to give credit to the Titans for not hanging their head when this thing looked like it could get out of hand and getting 2 turnovers from the Trojans.
Mule on first down. Got Hammond out of bounds, short of the first, gain of 9, but it'll stop the clock with a minute 22. 8 catches by Joe Hammond already. Bubble screen. Niswander, first down and more. And got out of bounds near midfield. 5th catch by Niswander. Mule 15 of 20 tonight. And back for more. Looking for Hammond. Got him at the 25. Pushed out of bounds inside the 10. Stops the clock with a minute 7. They've taken them 22 seconds to get down inside the 10.
Well, and that's what's hard with all these playmakers that they have on the field. It's you can't really go into a prevent or even a bend but don't break situation because, as you just mentioned, 20-plus seconds and they're in the red zone.
And Hammond has been a nightmare for the St. John's secondary. 9 catches. Too many yards to tally up at this point. Mogaloo, but wow, is that sniffed out. Play action fake. Here comes the pressure. And Fay with the reception got out of bounds and stopped the clock, if anything.
Well, good pressure, but once again, you see with the tall quarterbacks, usually it takes a lot to bring them down, and he's still able to get off a complete pass that time.
Didn't gain anything, but stopped the clock with 31 seconds to go. So now it's 3rd and goal from the 13. Mule, pressure again, rolled out, throws it to the corner of the end zone, touchdown. Oh my goodness, is that a heck of a throw.
Especially with the pressure coming down, and you see the chemistry that he has with Niswander that time. St. John's have 2 guys there waiting for it, but he throws it right to where Niswander is going to be, and give credit to Niswander for getting, that was an NFL catch that time, getting both feet in bounds. Look at this right here. Throws across the field, 2 guys from St. John's there, but he just puts it right in the breadbasket of where Niswander is going to be. That's just a nice throw. There's not a whole lot you can do with that, even if there is good coverage.
And it was right where it had to be. And he threw across field to do it. It's one heck of a throw. McInnes, extra point good. So we'll just keep it here with 25 seconds to go in the half.
You know, and last year he had to throw a lot because they couldn't run the football as well. And you see what having a guy like Mogaloo is able to do to open up the passing game, too.
Well, and you are never out of a game with these guys. I mean, you just aren't. They could score that quickly. Now, St. John's with 25 seconds, and it would not surprise me if they just took a knee.
Well, they caught him sleeping with the pass on the last drive. I mean, just a nice pitch and catch from Dick Anderson. That was a great play call. I believe Findlay was the one who took the timeout that allowed St. John's to kind of talk it over and see what the defense was giving them. But you know, you give credit to the Titans for not giving up. But I mean, I'm blown away by the execution from Ritzler and his guys, seeing it firsthand tonight. They've just had an answer for just about everything they've seen.
And that's exactly what we're going to get. We're going to get a kneel down. And as long as we all right, that should be the end of the half, and it is. All right, not sure what that was all about, but that will end what has been a very entertaining first half, to say the least. Findlay 42, St. John's 21 at the half. On the internet side, you'll get to hear some of the band. On the TV side, we'll be back for the third quarter coming up. 42-21, Findlay leading St. John's. You're watching the Toledo Sports Network and CW13. Back we are for the third quarter. Toledo Sports Network, CW13. Norm Waymer, Mike Bauman. St. John's will get the ball to start the third quarter, trailing 42-21. And we're going to get a return off of McInnes. And well, no, we're not. He was about a yard deep into the end zone. And you can't run it out of the end zone in high school.
Well, one thing the Titans have done a good job of tonight, we're at 0 in the turnover margin, both teams with 2 turnovers, but Findlay has been very impressive to me in terms of their execution, their speed. We've seen bigger Findlay teams in the past, but in terms of speed and quickness and shiftiness, guys getting to the ball on defense, offensively, the receivers blocking downfield, I mean, their execution has been A+ tonight.
First down. Winsler rolls, throws. Got a man. Nice catch at the 47-yard line. Pete McIntyre on the reception. 27 yards on the game.
McIntyre, he's been one of his favorite targets. We've seen a good game out of Max McCormick tonight. And the middle of the field is really starting to open up from the middle of the second quarter here.
15-23 for Winsler, 163 yards, 1 interception, 1 touchdown.
Number 47,
Not much there on first down for Curry.
Tackle on play by number 32, Desmond Lino, and number 47, Aaron Kupferberg.
Nice little catch. Tough run up.
First half, though, it was Brandon Mule, 18 of 23, 293 yards, a couple of touchdowns for Findlay. Mogaloo with 4 touchdown runs. This play is going to get whistled down. Mogaloo, 11 carries, 145 yards, and 4 touchdown runs.
Trying to run the same play they ran with success to beat McIntyre.
Once again, that's a yellow ticket, 2512565, Ryan Ford, pick the tag. 2512565.
And there's a lot of pressure on the St. John's offense because they just can't afford to turn the ball over or to punt. Down 3 scores, and the defense hasn't found really too many ways of slowing Findlay down. Winsler over the middle, got a man. That was his helmet, not the ball. Freisner on the reception.
Well, they've certainly showed the toughness, and you saw it right there. But you mentioned with the defense, I mean, the one play that really sticks out to me about what Findlay's been able to do in terms of their shiftiness, that huge 50-plus yard touchdown run from Mogaloo. St. John's had the look they wanted. They had him in the backfield, and he just got away.
Winsler's really settled down and is in a nice groove. Quick handoff will pick up about 3. Curry on the carry again. 5 carries, 14 yards for Curry. 2nd and 7. There's a pitch. Freisner around the corner. Flag flies. This will probably come back. Anytime the back judge throws the hanky, it usually means a hold, and it is.
And I think that time it was going on. It looks like it might be on Pete McIntyre on the initial break. But St. John's has been methodic in terms of their play calling tonight. They've really kind of thrown the whole gamut at this Findlay defense. Early on, they could only get those little passes on the edge. Slowly but surely, things started to open up over the middle of the field. Not had any big runs that they've broken off tonight. But once again, a penalty here, a holding penalty, 2 turnovers on 2 consecutive drives in the first half that really enabled Findlay to break it open.
But Winsler's 9 of his last 11. So he's been in a pretty good groove here for a while. 2nd down at about 25. Tip incomplete. Little behind Jonoff. It's a tough throw because he had to get that in over the linebackers.
Well, and even that touchdown throw, if you remember to Jonoff, he was able to reel that one in. That was behind him. And he threw that through the coverage on that touchdown pass.
The little extra air under the ball throws the timing off the play as well. 3rd and it's about 23. They have to get to the 28 for a first down, and down goes Winsler. And the ball popped loose, but it's going to be whistled dead. And he just did not have much of a chance. Going to lose 8 on the play.
And it looked like it was Chase Herrig again coming off the edge. And they've pretty much done that all night. Winsler's gone down a couple of times tonight, had pressure on him tonight, but they pretty much rushed 4 guys at him the whole time tonight.
Nice kick. Fair catch called for near the 28-yard line. Till we know exactly who it is. Somewhere that there's a parent that gasps if you, anytime you mention that.
My apologies to Andrew Weber's mother.
She may forgive you. Nice wander on the reception. Fights his way across the 30 out near the 34.
Tackle by number 35, Nick Walker to number 55, Larry Glover.
Seventh catch for Nicewander, 3rd and 4. And if you have any chance against Findlay, this is where you got to stop them. Mule has some time, throws, incomplete.
Yeah, that was the man he wanted, Hammond in the slot. Hammond's had a monster game tonight. Nicewander, one of the big stars of this team, but Hammond, I think he's, 9-10 catches already on the evening in the first half.
9. Yeah, and good late pressure on that.
Yep.
That forced Mule maybe to throw it a little sooner than he wanted. Our catch called at about the 22-yard line. Nick Walters was the return man.
I also want to say thank you again to IBEW Local 8, UA50 local pipe fitters and plumbers, as well as TAS Electronics. And once again, if you want to come on board here at Toledo Sports Network, give us a jingle at 419-514-1302 and at 419-349-6822. Great packages available and one of the largest audiences in the local sports market.
Buckeye Cable, Time Warner, all throughout Northwest Ohio. Quick out to McIntyre, out of bounds.
And good seal that time by Jonathan Friesner in the slot, allowing McIntyre to break it out to the outside. You know, Winsler, but he has settled down. You're absolutely right, Norm. I mean, he's had a couple of errant throws, but really has gotten in the rhythm towards the mid-second quarter on. I think he really zoned in after that interception.
Three-man stack wide to the right. Winsler did not see McIntyre, and down he goes.
Yeah, that time he never took his eyes off of Wyatt Johnoff downfield. He had a big catch earlier tonight for a touchdown, and you're absolutely right, Norm. Didn't look at Pete McIntyre. Probably could have picked up 5 or 6 on that play. He had some space in front of him if he got the block.
Yeah, he had a couple of blockers out in front of him. They had the three-man stack, and McIntyre was the back guy. So 3rd and long once again. Winsler has some time. Going to heave it down the right side. Looking for Johnoff, and he got it. And he's going to go to the house touchdown. 83 yards. How about that throw?
Right in the breadbasket of Johnoff. Single coverage. Hits him perfectly in stride. Johnoff now with a couple of huge touchdown catches for St. John's. But you see Winsler slinging the ball around. The open of the field is opening up. Wasn't there the first part of the second quarter, and that's allowed St. John's to really open up this playbook and throw some different looks at Findlay. Just a nice pitch and catch that time from Winsler to Johnoff.
Third touchdown pass for Winsler tonight. All 3 to Johnoff.
And what set that up is just what you talked about, Norm, being able to stop Findlay on 3rd down.
Hey, Mike, don't forget to talk about that Grace Speaks that's on that piece of paper.
So now we're waiting for the extra point. But we're very excited to bring these games to you on the new CW13.
Well, and that's
which has more high school coverage than anybody in the area, in a coverage area. Buckeye Cable and Time Warner, and so all throughout multiple counties throughout the area.
And if you just have the rabbit ears, like you said, 13-2.
Well, if you want to get your word out, you want to get your word out about your business, and get the word out in a very economical way, it's a good place to do it. CW13. We had an injured Trojan Justin Everly. Kick is up and good. So with 7:22 to go in the third, the Findlay lead is cut to 42-28. St. John's trails. We'll be back. Toledo Sports Network, CW13. Another 4:38 they chewed up. And the return by Niswander. Got a hole, 25-30. Trying to cut it across and finally down near the 40-yard line. Tackling has not been the best for St. John's tonight.
Well, and that's certainly that'll probably stand out when they look at the film from this game. And once again, you got to give credit to the shiftiness of the Trojans. I mean, their playmakers do not go down on the first hit. But they got pressure on Mule on that very last third down play. Let's see if they continue to make that a theme here, getting after the quarterback.
Mule on the delay, Mogaloo. Broke another couple of tackles, broke another tackle, and across a 45 out near the 47. But there's so much speed on this Trojan team, that's why you have to wrap up. Because if you don't make the tackle, nobody else may get a shot.
Right.
Quick out and complete.
Well, and keep in mind, too, once again, a couple of setbacks for St. John's. Dick Anderson hurt coming into the season. Then you had Sean Ratty, who's already received an offer from the University of Toledo, two-way lineman going down. That was a big blow to their offensive line and defensive line coming off the edge as well.
Another crucial third down for the Titan defense. 6:48 to go in the third, 42-28. Findlay with the lead. And here comes the pressure. Corner blitz, complete, over the middle. Plenty of room to run. Down near the 15-yard line is Dakota Fay. Well, that's how you beat the blitz, on a slant. Or the old skinny post, if you want to call it that.
And you see it right there, delivers it right in the breadbasket. St. John's trying to disguise it that time. Initially brought about 7 guys up to the front. Still dropped 2 back, and it wasn't enough.
And Mule going to keep it left side this time. He's dragging tacklers. He's breaking tackles. I know you got to give some credit to Findlay, but this has not been the best tackling display by St. John's.
What makes the zone read so effective is when we hold on to the ball, take it from on the handoff, hold on to the first strong carry.
2nd and 2. Mogaloo hit near the line, fought his way close to the 5. 3rd and less than a yard for the Trojans. And it's Mogaloo. Broke a tackle. 1st down. Can't quite get into the end zone, but they're going to have 4 more shots at it.
Mogaloo, another one of those guys that we talked about. Shorter, low center of gravity.
Mule kept it this time. Into the end zone, touchdown.
But once they get in the red zone, it's pretty hard to stop them with the multitude of playmakers they have and spreading the ball out the way they do. You have to be honest on the defense and still have coverage on the outside. And give credit to Mule. Nice read this time. Actually, that was the Mogaloo play. Mule on the next play keeps it. St. John's actually did a good job of wrapping up Mogaloo on this drive, but once again, a couple of big plays, the big one over the middle to get him in the red zone, and that's the to me, the stamp of this team is their quickness.
Yeah, the 38-yarder to Dakota Fay, the big play of the drive. Extra point is good, 5:53 to go in the third. It's now Findlay 49, St. John's 28. We'll be back. Toledo Sports Network and CW13. 8. Norm Waymer, Mike Bauman with you here on the Toledo Sports Network, CW13. Boy, McKinnis is really trying to put air underneath it now. Flag flies. Good coverage on Friesner.
Friesner on return.
And it might go back even farther.
Flag on the play.
Well, and once again, you know, you talk about the execution, a few penalties for St. John's tonight, a couple of turnovers, that back-to-back possessions that really put them behind the 8 ball early in this football game. You know, Findlay's coughed up a couple of themselves with the interception and the fumble, but they've always had an answer, and that's a sign of a well-coached team in all phases of the game, that they've had an answer for St. John's offensively and defensively tonight. But Winsler has been able to get into a rhythm. I like what I've seen from him from about the middle of the second quarter on. He really put that interception behind him, and they've opened up this playbook. And especially with a team that's very young like the Titans, starting 6 sophomores, you got to respect that.
Well, this is a Findlay team that looks like it could be a playoff team.
Absolutely.
They really do. Now Winsler backed up almost to his own 5-yard line. And he tried the quarterback draw. Not going to work. Number 30, Durin Thames, made all kinds of penetration.
And you look at that defensive front, you've got Thames up there who's listed at 5'11". You got Herring off the edge at 5'9", 5'10", right in that range as well. Not super big, but they're fast and they get to the football.
Winsler's in the negatives running the football. Pass is complete. We'll pick up a few. Catch a number. McIntyre on the reception.
Number 4, Peter McIntyre on the reception. Tackled by number 4.
I also want to say, for those of you down here in Findlay, Dr. Todd Leslie and Grace Speaks, they'll be doing the alumni Red Wings hockey game Saturday at 3 p.m. at the Cube. She's got a rare disease. It's been a nice fundraising event for her and that disease the last couple of years. Check it out.
Dr. Todd. Back to throw. Look at that. That's threading the needle.
Is that John off again?
I think that's McIntyre.
Or was it
I thought.
McIntyre?
Yep,
Nice
McIntyre in the
catch
first
by
down.
McIntyre. You know, and St. John's, they've got bigger receivers, too. I mean, we've seen that a couple of times tonight. Big hands, pretty good hands.
Look at this.
I mean, throws it on the back shoulder of the cornerback and puts it only where McIntyre can see it. That's a heck of a throw, too, from Winsler.
First down at the 25. Round the right side. Out across the 30 to about the 32. First carry of the night for Jaquez Jackson.
Once again, another smaller guy at 5'7", 160, but you see the complement that he has, the speed.
That might be the first carry of his for the season. McCormick, first down. Out to the 43. And St. John's has been very effective with the short to medium pass routes.
Well, and not only that, but on first and second down, St. John's has executed well in this football game. They've been getting themselves in second and third and short situations a lot tonight.
Winsler kept it himself, and one of his better gains tonight. He picked up about 9. And believe it or not, that gets him back to 0 yards for the night on 18 carries. Second and a long one. Winsler to Jackson, and that's going to lose a yard.
Winsler's pass complete to number 27, Jaquez Jackson. Tackled by number 4, Sam Sampos.
Yes, Sampos, nice tackle that time, wrapping up. And you talk about Winsler getting into positive or 0 yards. That was the one thing that Ritzler said. I said, what do you got to watch out for St. John's? We're aware of their quarterback.
And Winsler just got the whole defensive line to jump off sides to get an easy first down.
Well, people forget when you watch these games sometimes you're dealing with 14 to 18-year-old kids, and the offenses are a lot more complicated and intricate now than they were, say, even 10 years ago. And for this kid to come in here and be his first year as a Titan, He's showing a lot of great maturity.
Well, and Doug Pearson told me before the game he's still learning the offense after coming over from Whitmer. McCormick will bring it down inside the 40 to the 39 and gain a 5.
Pass complete to number 6, Max McCormick. Tackled by number 4, Sam Steinfeld.
I mean, and it really is indicative of kind of where football is going as a whole, too, in terms of going more running back by committee and spreading the ball around. There was a time where a lot of people didn't believe that the spread was going to work in the NFL, and you see it a lot now.
23 of 32 for Winsler. And that one complete. Fretty to the 26, a gain of 13.
And I think those have been some of his best throws tonight when they go back and watch the film. On the slant routes, as soon as the receivers are turning their heads, he's hitting them 1 or 2 steps into their stride.
Quarterback keeper. And just about 1 to the 25.
50-50 has been claimed a $648 pot.
Great atmosphere down here in Findlay for homecoming night tonight, too. Beautiful night for football.
Winsler. Incomplete. Too high for Jackson.
Well, Ciampos is right there, too. Read the play well, so even if he caught it, Jackson would have had to be pretty shifty to get by that first tackler. This is where you got to keep an eye out for number 3 here. And Max McCormick there on the outside if they get single coverage again.
Winsler 24 of 34 for 320 yards now. Third down and about 9 for the Titans, trailing 49-28, a minute 17 to go in the third. Winsler, incomplete, almost picked off by Neiswander.
To get away from the tackle and get to the wide side of the field.
4th and 9 for the Titans. Winsler, sometime, throws, McCormick got him, but it'll be short of the first down. And the defense did what they had to do to keep everything in front of them. And that's going to end the third quarter, the final play of the quarter. 12 minutes coming up. It's Findlay 49, St. John's 28. You're watching the Toledo Sports Network and CW 13. Fourth quarter ready to go here at Donnell Stadium in Findlay. Mule, swing pass incomplete. Mogalu was back in for that play, but pass was incomplete.
Those small guys are often very hard to tackle because they're so low to the ground, and he is so fast when he gets into the second level of defense.
Nice kick. And a fair catch called for. So the defense did hold.
I want to say thanks again to IBEW Local 8, TAS Electronics, and UA Local 50 Pipe Fitters and Plumbers.
So first down at the 25. Winsler over the middle, incomplete. Had McIntyre, but you got to thread that throw. That wasn't the easiest throw to make. So 2nd and 10. Still got 11:43 to go in the game. But St. John's down 3 scores. Winsler. Nice catch. Fretty on the catch.
And he went up for that one. You know, in talking to Doug Pearson, too, one of the things that he said when I asked him what stands out the most about your group this year, and he said, you know what, we're 1-3, but we're not feeling sorry for ourselves. We're battling, and I'm going to stay on the kids. And they've shown that tonight hanging in this football game when it could have gotten out of hand. Another hard count.
He got the defense to jump again, and he's going to get another first down.
When I used to coach with Coach B, we used to call it the freeze play. When you come out of
I'll tell you this, Winsler has really, he had missed 4 in a row. I think it was in the second quarter. And since that time, he's been pretty good.
Well, and once again, for a kid that's in his 5th game with a new team and a team that's been hurt by some injuries, especially on the offensive line, you know, he's shown some mental fortitude tonight, hanging in there.
Jackson in motion, going to get the pitch. Nice block on the edge, 40-45. And out near the 47, looks like he's got a first down to the 48.
And you see the potential for that young sophomore right there, kind of the yin to Curry's yang. Curry also a smaller back, but kind of more of the power guy. And that's what the passing game will allow you to do. It'll allow you to open up plays like that.
He's got 2 carries for 19 yards. You're going to see more of him. I think that's pretty safe to say, because he's got speed. I like how they're getting him the ball. Winsler throws across his body, incomplete. That is an awfully tough throw, and a dangerous one at that.
I mean, and as far as rushes this game, Findlay's rushed him. It's got to be in the teens now. I mean, they're bringing 4 or 5 guys every single play. They've knocked him down probably 5 or 6 times tonight. They're not doing anything fancy. I mean, they're just it's a 4-4 base, cover 3.
I think that's one of those times, though, he could have stopped and planted and not thrown on the run. Winsler tried to keep it himself.
There's that guy again.
Doran Thames again. And I'm not really able to watch him to see if he's spying at all, but boy, seems like every time Winsler tries to tuck it and run, he's right there.
Well, and when you have smaller guys like that on the defensive front, believe it or not, when you're that fast and that short, that it's an advantage because you can shoot the gaps quickly. By the time those offensive linemen get set back to drop back and pass block, he's halfway there.
Yeah, he's playing nose tackle. Winsler, double pump, couldn't find anybody, and down he goes. 4th down for St. John's, and they will go for it on their own 46. Winsler, down he goes. And that's with a 3-man rush. Aaron Kupferberg gets the sack. Now I got 5 sacks for Findlay tonight. 9:18 to go in the game. The Trojans get the ball. Mule going to keep it himself, and he'll run out of bounds. I don't know about you, Mike, but up 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, I'm not sure I want my quarterback running the football.
Well, I probably would have to agree with you because Mule has been so efficient and so good throughout this game, and Findlay's by far the better team, but you don't want to see him go down.
Mogaloo to the 39.
You know, and part of it is a rivalry game. St. John's won on their homecoming last year. This is Findlay's homecoming this year. You know, it's a newer rivalry in I mean, 91. I mean, we're starting to get up on almost 30 years with that, which is hard to believe. But you know, Findlay looks forward to this football game, and you can see it the way they've played tonight.
Yeah, Mogaloo actually to the 33. 3rd down and about a yard. .824 and counting to go. Mogaloo, first down.
But yeah, I would have to agree with you on that. You'd hate to see in a game where, you know, you've shown that you're a better team, you're executing well, you're up by 21 points, and there's 8 minutes to go in the game. Granted, things can turn around quick, and maybe that's part of what Ritzler's thinking because St. John's has recovered from a couple of turnovers. They've been able to bounce back. Maybe he's trying to get one more in just to really try to put it away.
Mogaloo cut it back in. Got a nice block. They've done a good job on him in the Mogaloo in the second half.
Yeah, I would like to probably say it's safe to say that I'm sure Pearson made that an emphasis at halftime, especially on that long run that he had for over 50 yards to get in the end zone towards the end of the first half.
Yeah, the 55-yarder. 2nd and 8. Strange seeing Findlay take time. Now they're starting to try to drain the play clock. Mogaloo again. Inside the 25.
Show.
Larry Glover was the injured Titan.
And that's not good because that kid's had one heck of a night. Hopefully it's just a cramp.
I don't think so. Mule to roll. Throws across his body. Look at that. Oh, and he dropped it. Fay was open at the 5-yard line all by himself. Had too long to think about it.
And it looked like a case of that right there. I mean, that was right at the numbers, right in the breadbasket.
Well, McInnes is going to come out for a field goal. And this is going to be about 41 yards. And it is, believe me, well within his range.
Especially with the wind at his back, too. We've had a steady wind coming out of, what is that, the north?
And it's blowing across a little bit now. Good snap, got it down, kick up, line drive, and he just chunked it. No good wide left.
Especially with a 21-point lead.
Out of the pistol. Fake pitch. There's McIntyre. 20, 25. And out close to the 28-yard line. 5 catches now for McIntyre. But the clock continues to move. Down to 6:18 and counting. Winsler to McIntyre again, but good defensive play.
Ciampas.
Yeah, Sam Ciampas.
He's had a couple of nice, fundamentally sound tackles tonight. And once again, that's a tribute to, the coaching staff of the Findlay Trojans. The execution, the tackling has been pretty good tonight. Had a few broken plays on a couple of long touchdowns from St. John's, but their fundamental tackling has been there.
Winsler, intercepted. Ciampas. And we talked about Winsler locking onto a receiver. And I also mentioned earlier, you're on the right hash. You're trying to throw to the left sidelines. That's a long, long throw.
And that comes with maturity, getting more comfortable in the offense. That's been his favorite target by far so far this year, has been Max McCormick. And McCormick is a big receiver at 6'3", has long arms and pretty sure hands. But Ciampas has made some good tackles in open space, and right there just watching Winsler the whole time and is able to jump the route.
Winsler, 28 of 42 for 340 tonight. Couple of touchdowns, but that's his second interception. Throw for the corner of the end zone, incomplete. Led him just a little too far. As much as talk was about Central Catholic and Whitmer at the top of the league, you're going to have Findlay that's going to move to 5-0 overall. As we are doing this game, Lima Senior is doubling up St. Francis, and they're going to move to 5-0, 2-0 in the league. They're ranked in Division II. They were 8th coming into the action tonight. Here's Mogaloo. So that title, maybe that goes through Central Catholic and Whitmer, but maybe it doesn't.
Well, and I think Central has done a good job in terms of Marcus Winters has been a good two-way threat for them at quarterback so far this year. Obviously, they stumbled against Perrysburg, but who hasn't this year? Perrysburg looks like one of the best teams in the area, if not one of the top teams in the state so far.
And they were up really big on Napoleon as we're doing the game here.
So I think right now on the track, you're looking at Lima Senior, you're looking at Findlay, obviously tonight, the way they've executed offensively and defensively. And Central Catholic, they had the edge by beating Whitmer last week, so those top three are probably what you're looking at, and it'll get interesting as the season pans on, but that's why they play the games.
10-yard reception to Fay and a first down. 4:53 to go in the game. Mule will keep it himself. Stay in bounds.
And once again, St. John's has had opportunities now. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better start. They get a huge interception right on the first play of the game, score on their first drive. And I think Doug Pearson, knowing the intensity he brings to the sidelines and the type of coach that he is and the high-energy guy that is, he's going to talk about that to his guys and say, guys, listen, if we tackle better, if we don't have 2 turnovers in a row early in this football game, and we shed some of those blocks, maybe this is closer. Maybe it's a little bit of different outcome. And then you give the kids more something to look forward to. I mean, they knew the type of game they're going to have to play coming in here tonight against the Trojans, and they've just had a couple of bad plays that hurt them.
Nicewander on the reception down to the 10-yard line.
And on the flip side, I think Ritzler did a great job getting his guys ready for this one. Coming off a huge win over Clay. They're catching St. John's on a tough week. I mean, it's homecoming. Their kids are amped up, but that's a huge win for the Titans to come in here beating St. Francis, their arch rival, heading down here tonight. They didn't catch them on an off week.
Findlay has just totally shut down St. John's on the ground tonight and really made St. John's one-dimensional. And St. John's defense has made some stops, but this is not one of them. This is a touchdown. On the reception, Chandler Stillings for the touchdown. Touchdown throw number 3. And Mule with another one on the ground. Stillings' first reception. That's a great name, Chandler Stillings, isn't it?
It is.
It's a great name.
Especially for a slot receiver.
But there's been so many possessions in this game, even though St. John's has made some stops and forced a couple of turnovers. 56-28, Findlay with the lead, 3:40 to go. We'll be back. This is the Toledo Sports Network and CW13. McKinnis will kick that well into the end zone.
Every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock on 106.5 The Ticket. Somehow Norm let us have our own show. I don't know how.
It wasn't up to me. Here's the pitch on first down. Jackson across the 25 to 30 and a first down.
And somehow we showed up in the ratings, too, which, maybe it'll give you a little incentive to listen. But we genuinely want to thank everybody once again. TAS Electronics, IBEW Local 8, UA Local 50 Pipe Fitters and Plumbers helping us bring these games to you guys.
Oh, we got an illegal shift. It's going to bring this back.
But you can also go to our YouTube, type in Toledo Sports Network. We've got past games on YouTube. Have a lot on our website as well. We've got DVD copies of the game that are available. So basically making ourselves as accessible as possible for Northwest Ohio.
We got a change at quarterback, too. Logan Hillesheim is into the game, and that's him with the football. 40, 45, 50, and a first down. It's about a 40-yard gain.
Nice keeper from the young fella that time. Fakes the handoff, spins away, breaks to the outside. And I think if you're St. John's, the one thing you can hang your hat on tonight is you didn't quit. They bounced back when things could have gotten ugly early, and they've shown that they can make the big play downfield. Not only with Winsler's arm, but the receivers with McIntyre, McCormick, Johnoff.
That's Curry, the ball carrier.
Number 41.
And he's going to lose 3 or 4.
It looks like you're starting to see some stubs defensively for Findlay as well. Probably wise at this point with the 56-28 now that you're doubled up. Don't want to get any of your starters hurt. But the quickness and the execution are the two big things standing out to me about the Trojans and why they're about to be 5-0 tonight.
That broken play, pure and simple. Hillesheim went to hand off, and there was nobody there. St. John's at home next week against Clay. And I believe we'll do that game next week.
We hope.
Yes.
I hear a yes from the truck. Marv Albert's in the truck.
Yes!
3rd and 19, minute 45 to go.
Do you have a signature call, Norm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did on radio anyway.
Is that
incomplete?
That one's yours. Marv Alberts is yes. Norm's is yep. But it has. It's been fun down. It's been fun down here tonight. I mean, this is a great place. I mean, this is the type of atmosphere you think of when you think of Friday Night Lights football. Right here in the heart of Ohio, homecoming night. They had Main Street like shut down. It's a good atmosphere tonight.
4th and about 19. Straight up the middle. Picked up about 9 of those 19. And that'll leave a minute 24 to go.
Well, and a couple of guys to keep an eye on, especially for St. John's, like you mentioned. Jackson, number 27, 5'7", 160. Got him listed as a slot and DB. We saw him at running back tonight, catch a couple balls out of the backfield, but his speed when he gets in the second level is there. And I think they're going to find ways to work him into this offense a little bit more and try to open up that running game a little bit.
All right, if you're watching on CW13, and it's Eastwood and Genoa coming your way next. And we're just going to get some kneel downs now.
And on defense, their tackling was fundamentally sound pretty much the entire game.
Well, that being said, too, when they face some of the big boys at the top of the track, they're going to have to erase those turnovers and erase some of the penalties tonight. But you can't complain too much because it's been a big win. So we'll wrap this one up here. It's Eastwood and Genoa coming your way next. For Mike Bauman, Mike Jamieson in the truck, and all the rest of the crew, I'm Norm Waymer. Your final score from Donnell Field in Findlay. Findlay Trojans 56 and St. John's 28. You've been watching the Toledo Sports Network and CW13.